All right. Part six, the final part of Little Big. And I was lost. I was lost for a lot of this. I was delightfully, enchantedly lost. Um, and I maybe wondered if it was going to catch me as a reader who's probably mostly an emotional reader. Like, you know, when it comes down to it at the end, if it hits me in the emotions, it'll have me. And I think this book did catch me at the end there with the emotions. Um, this section starts off with Barbo- Barbosa, Barbosa becoming president, um, and it being winter, and it being kind of sending everything into darkness, which maybe indeed does make him a tool of the fairies of shutting everything down. Um, he seems strangely side off to the side, though maybe this whole story, this whole family is off to the side, as it's sort of like it's the decay of civilization, it's the turning off of lights, it's that we are momentary blips in a universe, um, represented by this family that's sort of mixed with fairy in a way. Um, we have we have uh, man, we have so much. We have the family. We have it sort of slightly shifts off of Oberon, though Oberon and George are indeed kind of going through the thing, getting led by Fred, going across the ferryman, the coins, um, and Fred, this black man, becoming a tree, mushrooms growing between his toes, him cr- craning his head back and growing up into the sky to look at God, um, and Lilac coming home and and to bring everyone to the fairy parliament, because we're going to have the fairy parliament where um, we're going to all everyone's going to be together, the opposing forces, all face to face to get peace. Um, whether this happens or not, we have Smokey um, putting together this this perpetual motion machine, um, which works in the kind of ways of physics, but it's like the moon and the stars is a perpetual motion machine. But what gave it its first push? Sort of that idea. And I mean, is it truly a perpetual motion machine, as we will actually even just see at the end of the story? And finally, everyone needs to go. Alice goes first. Alice goes because she has to make everything ready for everyone. So it's another lost wife, and for Smokey. And Smokey in the end is like, well, maybe I won't go. Maybe I need to stay here to kind of get everything ready. But Lilac comes, and Sophie says, well, this is your daughter, which I guess it's truth, and then it's maybe truth. And so he says, okay, I'll come. But as they're all going out the door, he realizes it's the door he came in, and that he can't go out that door. And I didn't really catch it the first time, but as I re-listened to it, it's like, oh, he doesn't make it. But that's okay that he didn't make it. Like, it's not his tale. He was there to kind of carry the tale for others. And I think that's where it caught me, that kind of beautifulness of like, it's all right. It's all right that this is the tale, and the tale, they're following the end of the tale now. And that we are all going to blink out. But that's all right. And there's like a deep nostalgia, but there's a deep thing of just passing. And there's a thing of this is a story. And indeed, the fairy parliament seems to be, it's awake for Smokey. But where's Alice? Well, Alice is all around us. Alice has kind of created all of this. And indeed, at the end, all the fairy lights, all the all the firefly lights dim, the plates turn into leaves that rustle along the ground, and Alice walks amongst and is sort of as a tear, and within that, we also have the kind of the marriage of remarriage of Oberon of is it marriage of Oberon and Sylvia, and it's like they finally get to reunited, and she smiles, and the crowd cheers, and it's like it's beautiful, it's so beautiful. And in the end, we have the final image of the house, which has got, yes, it's got electricity. Maybe the rest of the world doesn't have electricity. This is the last thing that has electricity. And it's like the cats have gone off to more respectable climes. The mice have inherited the larder. The squirrels sleep in the beds. And slowly the lights go out. And it sort of gets known as, oh, it's the house that has the lights. And those lights slowly go out one by one until there's just the story of the house with the lights that is left. And it's just a story, and a story that is carried on. And a tale. It's beautiful, and I didn't understand most of it, and I caught a fifth of it, and it's one of those like, oh, I think he's, and at the end you hear that this is John Crowley who's been reading this, and he's been reading a preferred text that that's created, that's going to get published, but still hasn't been published, with like lots of illustrations, and it's like it's it's a gorgeous book. And now that I've listened to it my first time, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go back and read it again, knowing the end at the beginning, because I think it is a story where, indeed, I think Smokey talks about, well, I'll just, there's just going to be another round of walking back into the house, having another family, having this beautiful, sad adventure of lost wives, lost children, but being regained. Like there'll be a banquet at the end, and we'll all be there. And I don't think I'm thinking of this as some kind of angelic heaven. I think I'm thinking of this as just like it's one large story that we all are caught up in, that we're all carried away in, and that it is bigger in the inside. And it's in there, and further down it is even bigger and bigger, in a kind of a transcendent thing of, in the end, you are a hero riding through the vast, limitless vista of some kind of a land, having your adventures. God, yeah, okay. That is Little Big. I don't know if I would ever try and do. You couldn't do a review of that. You could just do an invocation of that, I guess, and try and capture that sigh. All right, I'm going to go upstairs and say hello to the puppies.